Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. Namaste to all. Welcome to this Next Gen camp. I am, of course, exposing myself to such a group for the first time. And I'm very excited to share something with you. The topic our Swami has given is Introduction to Vedanta. Before I go to the topic, I would like to share a few things with you. First thing is about learning itself. You know, if you have to learn something, then you basically should have a mind, which is capable of learning. What is the mind which learns? That's the first question. Well, you know very well the mind which is elsewhere, not in present, not in the thing which is going on, cannot learn. So the first reason for the mind which cannot learn is non-availability of the mind. That's the first reason. The second reason is the language, which my mind is not able to understand. Language of the message, let us say, what is to be learned, message which is to be learned, the language of that message, if it is not understood, well, then one cannot learn. This is the second reason. The third reason is, even if the language is understood, if one is not prepared, well, for the type of the knowledge that is given, well, then also one cannot learn. So three reasons are there. So first thing is non-availability of the mind. Mind is capable of learning, but it is not available. Second thing is the language of the subject matter which I am going to learn, that is not understood. And third thing is language I am able to understand, and mind also is present, but still not prepared for the type of the knowledge which I have to gain, or the thing which I have to learn if I am not prepared. So, I mean, type of knowledge for which I am not prepared means what? Like, if the subject matter may involve certain arguments, subject matter may involve certain implications, well, may not be understood by my mind. In that case also, I cannot learn. So basically, so the student's mind is ready and it is available. That's the one thing. The teacher also has to communicate in such a way so that the subject matter should be understood by the student. And therefore, if a method of communication, etc., on the part of teacher, if it is not there, and if teacher also does not have a language proper, well, then also, even though the student is ready, his mind is available, still he cannot learn. And therefore, basically, learning requires both the things. Student's mind as well as on the part of teacher, methods to communicate, proper language, etc., that is also required. So teacher must be able to communicate, and the student should be should be alert enough, means his mind is required, alert enough to receive the knowledge. Then learning takes place. So, well, you people are ready. Ultimately, this is my purpose. You people are ready, you are alert, your mind is here. So you give me some benefit of doubt, okay? So when you give a benefit of doubt to me, definitely your mind will stay here. And if you know that, you are going to learn something that your mind, basically will stay attentive during the class, then definitely you will learn. Now, what is actually a learning? What is the class? Is it a lecturing or is it something which is unfolding? These are two different things. Basically, the subject we define as a class here right now, in which learning takes place. Well, that class is one where the subject matter which is there is being unfolded. So unfolding is different from lecturing. I will explain you that. So when I lecture, you may or may not be able to follow me. If I am going to unfold, I make sure that what I see, you also see. That's the thing. Lecturing means I just, speak something. I won't bother whether you are able to follow or not. But unfolding means what I see, certain vision I have. I see that vision. I make sure that you also see. And that is called class, in which the subject matter is unfolded. And for that, they give a very beautiful example also. Example of a sculptor. You might have heard, still I just want to remind you that a sculptor and his friend both were going, and on the wayside they found a rock. Seeing the rock, the sculptor said, "What a beautiful rock it is." And then the friend said, "What is there in this rock to see?" Ultimately, all rocks are same. But the sculptor was seeing something in the rock, which the friend was not able to see. He was seeing a Krishna in that rock, let us say. And of course, then on the request of the sculptor, they brought the rock to the studio. And then friend went away, but then during 2-3 months before the friend arrived, he literally, removed. He went on basically unfolding this Krishna by chipping off the portions of the rock that were covering the Krishna by naked eyes. So then he did it, and when friend arrived, and he could also see the same thing, what our sculptor was seeing even before the chipping, etc. So this is called unfolding Krishna from the rock. Is it okay? What I'm saying is making sense? Anyway, so he's not creating a Krishna from the rock, but unfolding Krishna, chipping off the portions that hide Krishna, is called unfolding. So here also, like sculptor, if a teacher has a vision and has something to convey, that is unfolded. And here also chip by chip. He removes things, which covers. Certain doubts are there, certain errors are there, etc. Certain vagueness is there about the subject matter, is slowly chipped off by the teacher in every class. And then whatever the vision teacher has, student also has. This is called unfolding. The only, so we call always, you must have heard this word, that knowledge is always unfolded by one person to the another. In this, the sculptor and the teacher both are identical. But basically, there is still a difference between them. The sculptor unfolds and the teacher also unfolds. The difference is, the stone does not run away. When the sculptor sculpts, even if it is shaky, it can make it very firm. So where the chisel is placed, is where the hammering takes place, right? And where it is placed, there the effect also will be there. But here, even though the teacher basically sculpts, if the mind is elsewhere, then he is sculpting in the space only. So the teacher is sculpting in the space. So you have to place yourself, your mind, where it needs to be. So when the teaching takes place, basically, your mind also got to stay that place. Only then can the sculpture will emerge. Anyway, this is just about learning, certain conditions required on the part of teacher and on the part of student I have just shared with you. Now, before talking about this introduction to Vedanta, I would like to share a few things. Of course, I'm reminding you rather, because all the things you might be knowing also, regarding Hinduism, which will definitely, after knowing, or if I remind to you, you will feel definitely, proud of being a Hindu. So I just want to share a few things regarding that, and then we'll go to the subject matter. So the name Hindu as such was given to the people who were following the Vedas and had a unique a religious culture, spiritual culture, you can say. I will make a difference between religious life and spiritual life a little later, but right now you take it that way. So when they say, when some Persians from across the Himalayas came to North India, and where the river Sindhu flows, they saw a people basically living in a highly civilized life with a unique, religious culture, and they called those people, the Persians called these people as Sindhus. But in fact, the later S was pronounced as, in their language, as H. And so the word became Hindu. Instead of Sindhus, it became Hindu. So we are told that this is how we have come to be known as Hindus. There is another meaning which I will give you a little later, but this is what has been, I came to know about it. Anyway, so the people, basically, these Hindus, were following a body of knowledge called Vedas. And we have heard about the Vedas. You know, they are 4 in number. And Veda is considered is a most ancient body of knowledge, even by the modern historians also, that you must be knowing very well. And they are 4 in number, of course: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda, etc. Like the Bible for the Christians, well, definitely for the Hindus, these are our Bibles. 4 Vedas are our Bibles. And we call them as scriptures. So Veda in Sanskrit, of course, means a body of knowledge. Because the word Veda has been made from the root, just for your knowledge. Vid dhatu is there in Sanskrit, means to know. From that word Veda has come, means a body of knowledge. And these scriptures or Vedas form the basis of the spiritual life for the Hindus, basically. So Hindus may not know the entire content of the 4 Vedas. Like your parents may not be knowing the entire content of the 4 Vedas, but because they are very voluminous, but they have imbibed basically the essence of the lifestyle based upon the Veda. They have imbibed the value structure based on the Vedas. They have in fact imbibed the attitudes also based on the Vedas. And they pass on, parents, they pass on to the next generation. That's how we also come to know many things regarding our attitudes, values, etc. Even though we may not have seen even the book Veda and opened the book also. So this is how it is. So in humanity, of course, there are a lot of things. Vedas are very ancient, as I told you. And in humanity, there are a lot of things that are ancient. And so ancient that they cannot be claimed by basically any given country. I give you an example. We have, the pyramids in Egypt. Suppose the Egyptian government decides, chooses to demolish one of the pyramid in order to make some housing colony, etc. Suppose, do you think humanity will allow it? No, definitely not. So even though the pyramids happen to be within the borders of Egypt, of course, but the government of Egypt does not, have a right to destroy the pyramid because it is too ancient, to be claimed by any particular country or any particular nation or a group of people. So the Vedas are even more ancient than even these pyramids, etc. And therefore, basically, it is actually the knowledge given by the Vedas is universal. It doesn't have a boundaries of the nation. And till today, this Veda, of course, is handed over by one generation, well, to the another generation, orally. You must know there are people right now in Chennai, of course, I also saw, and there are other places also, where there are people even today in India, well, who can repeat the entire Veda, of course, a given Veda committed to their memory, etc. So, of course, it takes them many days. They say for one Veda to study, you require 12 years. You have to sit at the feet of the teacher, and then he chants with a certain intonations, etc., swaras, etc., and you repeat. And, of course, the person goes in a very young age, so definitely he can commit the entire Veda to the memories. So this is what our Vedic Gurukulams are also doing. Anyway, so the Vedas, well, belong to the humanity. Ultimately, what I'm saying is, they are too ancient to be claimed even by Indians. So most of the, in fact, religions also have a beliefs, well, that can be found in the Vedas. They may accept, they may not accept. That is there. Concept of heaven and other things are also there. So well, all these Vedas form the basis, ultimately, for the Hindu religious life. Since what is known in Hindu religion today is based upon, well, these 4 Vedas, our Hindu religion also alternatively called as a Vedic religion. Also called it as Sanatan Dharma as such, because the Vedas are basically from beginningless time, etc. I will explain that. So that is how Sanatanam means, which is eternally there. So the Hindu religion either you call Sanatan Dharma, either you call Vedic Dharma, all is the same, because our basis for our spiritual life, religious life, in general, I'm going to say about a way and view of life, is entirely based on Veda, and therefore we call it as a Vedic religion. And these Vedas basically have a view to the human destiny, what exactly one is seeking in life, what one wants to accomplish essentially in life is basically universal. Entire humanity is searching one thing. We will discuss when we discuss purushartas, etc. And that is addressed by the Veda, actually. So they have a very clear vision of what is to be discovered in one's life. And to discover that thing, ultimately one needs to be prepared. We call it as a maturity, to be an adult. Adult in terms of not a physical adulthood here. Otherwise, everyone will become automatically, become prepared and gain this end, etc. So it is an emotional adulthood. And what is that? I will discuss that. But so that also has been told how you can become emotionally mature, how you become emotionally adult. And by that, ultimately, one gains a preparedness and gains this end also, which is the Veda has this vision for this. So it's a universal vision, basically. And it is something that everyone wants to have, whether the person knows it or not. What Veda talks about that goal, whether you know it or not, you are searching that goal only. Even behind all the goals of the different human beings, even one single human being has several goals. Certain are short-term goals, certain are long-term goals, etc. But still, behind all the goals, there is the goal. And so that is that vision of that goal and the view, etc., of the life, etc., is very nicely presented in the Veda. So, and this vision can be called the vision of the end, etc., we call it as a view of the life. And Vedas have a view of life, and once it presents an end, it should present the means also to reach the end. And therefore, Vedas have a view of life, and to achieve that view, they prescribe a way of life also. So our Hindu religion or Vedic religion or Sanatan Dharma is nothing but a view of life plus a way of life. That's it. That's how sometimes the general definitions of religion, which generally we find as a dogmas of do's and don'ts and etc., really it is not there. To be frankly, talking to you, Hindu religion means has a certain do's and don'ts. No, it is something different. It has a universal vision about the view, and also a way of life. So this is regarding the Hindu religion. And when we say this view of life, well, so that view of life, that meaning of the word view of life, addresses a few questions and answers a few questions. So what are the questions? What is life? The first question, what is life? Second is, what is the reality, well, you are seeking in your life? What is God? And is there one or not? And is there a God or not? Then if there is, where is he or she? That's another question. And then what is this world? Then how it is related to the Lord? How the world is related to the Lord? What's the relationship between Lord and the world? How are you related to the world? What are you all about? What's your relationship to the God? What's the relationship of the world to the God? What's your, as an individual, what's your relationship to the God? Etc., etc. All these questions are answered when I say a view of life, or the Vedas have a vision about the view of life. Well, Veda answers all these questions. Anyway, and the view is something that is view of which is presented by the Veda is entirely distinct, different from the views that many religions basically has a view of life. So basically, like a church, etc., we are not criticizing. We are just trying to compare and understand the things. So please don't feel anybody who has that I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just presenting what one religion talks about regarding the view of life, what other religion talks about. So basically, for instance, let's say the church has a view of life. Well, it looks upon the individual basically as a helpless entity, helpless person who is a sinner, basically. And born of a sin because he or she is born of parents, and they consider it as a sin because the parents meet and they. So anyway, so for the birth now, so he's born sinner. And so for the basically birth to be sinless, he or she has to immaculate, right? Yes, he or she has to become free from the sins because he is born sinner. And therefore, and people born of such sin require to be saved, they call them. Saved from the sins. And for that they provide the means also. Like confession is one of the means. They may have another means also. So if you live a life according to the means they prescribe, well, ultimately, after the death, well, you will go to the heaven, being free from all the sins, etc. So heaven going is their view of the life, ultimately. And this is the purpose of life. Purpose of life is to achieve, ultimately go to the heaven after death. And that is not just Christians, but even Islam also, well, present the same view of life. The view of life in Hinduism, which is something really unique, is entirely different. It is to be accomplished, we say the view, the end, the goal is to be accomplished here, not after death. And while you are alive, you can accomplish that. That is why it is so important. It is something that is connected to your life. What they talk about a view of life, it is connected after life. What we are talking is connected to the life. When you are alive, you can achieve. So, we are not worried about actually going to a heaven later. In fact, you know many things also that we are not much interested in heaven going, etc. So, we are concerned about making our life here. All that we have to accomplish as a successful individual, well, ultimately to be able to say, I have made it. Well, it's to be done here and not in the hereafter. So we must know that this is something which is very unique in terms of view of the life between other religions and Hinduism presents. The highest thing a human being, well, can accomplish is to be accomplished here and now. It's an amazing thing. And so, you can accomplish while you are alive and kicking and, when your mind is working very well and when you are not too old also. That's how I'm addressing to you. Really. And so for this, of course, you need to shape your lifestyle. A lifestyle, a means which is given by the Veda, that is, you have to mold yourself into that lifestyle. We can call it as a clean lifestyle. We can call it as a religious lifestyle, etc. So basically, you need a clean lifestyle that help you to ultimately grow into, as I told you, the emotional adult, mature adult, and ultimately that clean life includes one personal prayerful life and a certain social structure in which your responses to in the society would be of a particular kind based on the universal values, etc., which I'm not touching right now because you're discussing a lot, and I may touch a little bit later. So based on that, when you lead your life like that way, ultimately you become an adult, emotional adult, who is called a prepared, qualified person for gaining knowledge and gain the highest goal of the life. So this is what has been presented. So the view and way of life, which is what we call Hindu religion, is ultimately this. There were religions in the world that are non-existent today, unfortunately. In Greece also, there was a religion. In the whole of Europe and even in the Arab countries also, there were a number of religions, they say. All those religions were wiped out. On all we have left over is the monuments and certain books. That's all. The religion as such practiced, that is not there. Anyway, and there are certain religions today which were non-existent before. Certain religions were existent, are non-existent now. Certain religions were non-existent before they are existent now, because founded by a person. Like Buddhism, like our Islam or Christians. Well, basically, all these were founded by some people. So they have a beginning. Again, I'm comparing. Now, if you look at this, the Vedic religion, well, based on the Veda, well, you can't determine what was the beginning, frankly speaking. It's exactly like physics has no beginning. What is physics is nothing but the laws of the physical world. That's what it is. Either a gravitation law or any law, right? Physics is nothing but, laws of the physical world. And laws were existent before they were discovered by a particular scientist, physicist. So we can say the physics, the laws of the physical world, they were existent from the creation itself, from the humanity itself. And the same way the Veda also, basically, where we say Veda also, were existent from the creation itself. You can say, maybe it has grown with the humanity. We can say that way, no problem. But they were existent. It's not that few people have decided, to basically, as a founder, to be of a Vedas. You won't find that way. So this is another, just for a comparison purpose, that Veda has no beginning. So Vedic religion has no beginning. So it is important to understand that Vedic religion was not founded by anybody. That's the uniqueness compared to other religions also. That is why anybody can say, because it is even if humanity has come, before that also it was existent, then anybody can say, I am a Vedic person, I am a Hindu person, anybody can say, and you have no way of saying them that you are not. Because being a religion, that was not founded by anybody, it does not require you to subscribe, to a particular faith. And therefore, basically, Vedas, like physics, talks about certain facts. Fact is something which cannot be altered, right? Fact is something like physics law. Law is there. You may not interpret properly, that's a different thing. That's how the science grows also. That's a wonderful thing. But my point is, Veda also talks about a certain facts which cannot be altered, and therefore they are beginningless, and they cannot be negated. So that is how, the Vedic religion basically is like this. Anyway, and we say Vedas ultimately we have received from the Rishis. The 4 Vedas have come down to us from the Rishis. And Rishis themselves received basically the 4 Vedas from the Ishvara. And so this body of knowledge, thus called Veda, has come down to us. So what we are, of course, going to see is nothing but what the Vedas say in essence, naturally. It's very voluminous. Like we will talk about purushartas or something, like some Panchamahayajnas, which Shivamji told me. All this is based on, ultimately, the Vedas, which are facts, which are real facts. And the essence only we should know. To know our religion, to know the Veda as such, we need not have to study Veda. We should know certain essence, which will give us the view and way of life. That's what it is. And these 4 Vedas, we call scriptures, they are supported by secondary scriptures. And by a number of other books, and you know also Ramayana, Mahabharata, etc., we call as a itihasa. Itihasa means, well, this is how it was. Means this is how it happened in the past. So Ramayana and Mahabharata are based on historical facts, background. And based on that historical facts, a lot of things were poetically well expressed, like the Rakshasa Ravana, right? So, definitely in the Ramayana, with 10 heads, etc. So, it is meant not to be understood literally, frank, because you and me are not going to accept. In history, Swamiji, there was a person with 10 heads. I'm not going to accept it. Definitely not. Then how can you call it history? How can you call it history? Means the person was there. This is how it was. The person was existing with 10 heads. No. A certain historical fact is there. A certain poetical part also is there. That is how our Ramayana and Mahabharata both are, basically. Suppose, if you take it literally, suppose, 10 with 10 heads, then suppose one head gets a thought of a mango, other 9 heads also gets a thought of mango. What is the use of it? There is no use of it, right? Other 9 heads are basically useless. You need only one, basically. So you should have surgery done, actually, to get rid of this extra thing. And you can't walk even in a house. You can't enter in the door with 10 heads. So all the extra 9 heads should have been removed. Otherwise, you have to have 9, basically shampoos and 9 towelings and 9, all this. Then why then the person has been expressed with the 10 heads, etc.? Well, there is a purpose. There's a meaning in that. To give that kind of imagination to the person who was already existent at that time. He was having 1 head, but was expressed with 10 heads. That's an imagination part. There is a purpose. That is to be learned, actually. That's how even these secondary scriptures make us learn a lot. Make us learn a lot. If you don't throw it, just calling it as a mythological and this and that, there is a lot to be learned from that character itself, with a certain presentation, which is poetic, of course. Anyway, so, with the 10 heads, etc., that's a problem. But suppose they think differently, 10 heads. 1 head says, grab Sita. The other head says, well, don't grab. Third says, you can grab or need not grab. Fourth says, well, what time should I grab? Could you follow? The person cannot move forward, cannot proceed to grab. If 10 heads think about one thing in 10 different alternatives, he cannot proceed in his life. That is called Ravana. That is called Ravana. With all conflicts, the people who are all the time remain in conflict, they cannot proceed. They cannot decide, they cannot proceed. They say, Swamiji, I am coming. Fine, come, I am free. Within 15 minutes, say, well, Swamiji, I cannot come, this is that happened. Fine, no problem. After 10 minutes, again phone call. Swamiji, I may come. Like, what is this? So within 1 hour, you call 6, 7 times, and still you have not proceeded from your home to meet. So, well, that is how Valmiki pictured Ravana as a person who had conflicting ideas, good and bad, right and wrong, etc. He constantly had this problem. And so, who is a Ravana? Anybody who has these conflicting ideas all the time is never able to judge and proceed, never able to decide and proceed, is a Ravana. And well, that person, here also, we should not call anybody. I should judge myself ultimately for that. So if I am also like this, having such a conflicts, neither I can decide, neither I can proceed. If I decide, I will proceed. Well, then Ravana is rightly present here. 10 heads represent 10 types of thoughts, conflicts, etc. So that person is like a, likened to be a person, well, with 10 heads, with conflicting ideas. Anyway, that is how the Ravana was. So it's a purely poetry. Definitely it's an imagination. And but there was a person named Ravana, that we cannot deny, with one head. With one head. Other part is imagination, 10 heads, etc. Anyway, and so there was a person who had this kind of a nature, conflicting, etc. And there is a lot of poetry, there is a skeletal fact also, both things mixed together in a secondary scriptures. Veda's primary scripture presents only facts. Secondary scriptures have a skeletal fact plus poetry, certain imaginary part. That's called itihasa. So there are certain basic facts that are historical and plus imagination. If there is no history, and if it is purely imagination, then we have Puranas, purely imagination. It has a message to convey, like our Star Wars, or like some movies, which nowadays come, well, they present the world after 25 years. It has a certain meaning. Even though it's an imagination right now, but it has a certain meaning. So I would call Puranas like our Star Wars or others. I am not aware of many things, which is purely imagination, but has a certain meaning to convey to the humanity. So primary scriptures, Vedas, pure facts. Secondary scripture, Itihasa, Ramayana and Mahabharata, partially historical thing, but fact plus partial imagination. And Puranas, purely imagination, but conveys the same meaning what Veda has conveyed, but in a story form, certain purely imaginary form. So this is how the things are. Anyway, and so this is regarding our scriptures of a Hindu religion, on which our Hindu religion is based. These are basis. These are basis for that. And lastly, though the name Hindu, well, was given by, as I told you, somebody like Persians, etc., as we saw in the beginning, and we accept it also. So we are stuck with that name. Well, that is product of that language. And language has its own limitation. Words have its limitation, and therefore we accept it. But then the Sanskrit language as such, well, is such a thing that even in this word Hindu, we find a meaning in that word Hindu. Even whether they have given this way or not, let's not go into that. But on the basis of our Sanskrit language, we can derive a meaning for the word Hindu. And it has two components, you know very well. That's we call as a derivative meaning, in which the one word you divide into portions and you give a meaning of each portion and then combine. That's how it is. So Hindu basically means him plus du. Actually, him becomes hin because of a certain sandhi rule, etc. Makara has become nakara because it follows by the. Whenever, so anyway, so that is, and the word, the him in Sanskrit means falsehood. And du means one who condemns. So basically, Hindu means one who condemns the falsehood. That very negative way, but let's express it positively now. So the Hindu means one who pursues a truth, right? One who condemns falsehood means what? One who pursues truth is called Hindu. It's a very good word. and it is in keeping with what we are talking about in the scriptures. So for a Hindu, well, truth is important. So it is a fact, a truth that is, well, most important in our religion. And so what is the truth? That's what I said about it. What is the truth of life? What is the truth of the world? What is the truth of the individual, etc., etc. So what is the truth of everything ultimately? What is the truth of life, etc.? Well, you discover through our scriptures. And such a person who discovers this is called Hindu. By first getting a vision of the Veda, the view of the life, and also leading oneself, shaping oneself in a lifestyle, way of life given by the Veda. This is regarding Hindu religion. This was the introduction about our religion. Now, the topic actually, we have to see certain, in this introduction to Vedanta, which Shivanji told me to take. Generally, the first topic, they talk about purushartha. Purushartha, in English, it is called pursuit, goal, needs of a human being, we can say. That is to be addressed first. What are the needs of the human being? What are the desires? What he is seeking, etc., etc. But purushartha has actually three meanings. But here, contextually, we'll give one meaning. Purushartha means, you must have heard perhaps, purushartha means an effort. This person is doing a lot of purushartha. So he's putting a lot of effort. Purushartha also means a free will. That's how sometimes they say, what is purushartha versus prarabdha? What is free will versus fate? Right? So purushartha also means a free will. Purushartha means a effort, based on his free will, of course. And purushartha contextually also means what is sought after. What is the goal? What is a human being seeking? So we know human being has several desires. But Shastra says ultimately he is desiring actually only three types of things. Let us put three purusharthas at this moment. So in our Shastra, we have looked upon the human needs, human pursuits called purushartha, and brought them under, well, these three broad categories. The first is the pursuit of a security, very natural, right? From the day when, from the birth itself, the individual wants to be secure. So anything that provides you with a certain security is called artha. Artha means pursuit of security. And such as a home and real estate and relationship and money. Of course, money means which includes gold and our investments, etc. Everything through which we seek security. And apart from it, name also gives a certain security. Influence with the other people gives a certain security. And of course, power gives a certain security. All these varieties of the pursuits come under artha, pursuit of security. Because I am seeking security through all these things. So this is the first purushartha, first pursuit called artha. And in addition, well, to giving you a sense of security, money, etc., well, they also give you a certain satisfaction, joy, inner comfort. Please understand my word, inner comfort. Physical comfort I am seeking is ultimately because I am seeking inner comfort. Any physical comfort, if it cannot give me inner comfort, I am not interested. So inner comfort, pleasure, you can say, ego satisfaction, or Swamiji used word ego gratification. All this, the same pursuits, money or relationship you seek for the sake of security. But that relationship is giving you a certain ego satisfaction, joy, inner comfort. Well, then the same relationship is called kama. Because through which I am getting a certain ego satisfaction. Certain comfort, inner comfort I am getting. And therefore, they are also considered as a kama. And then there are certain, special pursuits that are meant only for inner comfort, joy, pleasure, only for that. So like listening to music, or, learning music. Sometimes learning music itself gives a joy. So if you're not seeking security through learning music, etc. Yeah, if you want to be professional through learning music, you are seeking security, because you will get some money through that, being professional. Please understand this. This is we feel, Swamiji, this is a topic which is, I'm telling you, this is the most complex topic. And I'm going to make it more complex also. So you will ultimately, it's really, only the person himself, herself can decide whether this pursuit, what I'm seeking comes under artha or kama. That person can decide. Ultimately, it is going to happen like this. It's not that simple. Anyway, so all these pursuits of security, money and relationship, they themselves can become a pursuit of kama, or purely there are certain pursuits which are pursuit of kama, pleasure. Learning music, listening to music, etc. And if you want to become professional, it's a pursuit of artha. Now, if you do so, and at the same time, suppose you are a professional musician. So you are going to get for a show some money, right? And at the same time, you enjoy music also. So basically, both are mixed, artha and kama. You are pursuing money, security, right? And you are also pursuing, let us say, a joy That's how all our musicians, when they play, they are as though in a different world. People get tired, but they never get tired. Mostly musical programs in night, they start at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and it goes on up to 4 o'clock. They may need some coffee, etc. But more than that, we may doze off, but they don't. That shows how much joy they are getting. So, of course, they are going to get a lot of money also. So, the pursuit of this music, etc., can become a pursuit. It's a mixed pursuit of a artha and kama. They are mixed up sometimes. So we have to discriminate. We have to discern this. All sense pleasures, all gratifications, such as the pleasure of eating, etc., are called kama. We are not seeking, by eating, we are not seeking security, etc. I'm sure. We eat a certain type of food. That shows that we are seeking a gratification. And when you go on a holiday, definitely, it is not for artha. In fact, you are spending artha. So you are not going for earning artha, or you are not seeking artha. So while you may intend for it to be a pursuit of a kama, sometimes it proves to be not the case. Like you go on holiday with a friend, suppose, and you thought that you will enjoy there, etc. And you reach there to the destination, holiday destination, you reach, and then you get sick. Then whole thing, the pursuit of kama is gone. Or you fight with somebody. So, it happens sometime. So then that thing goes away. So anyway, so we have a varieties of the pursuit that are artha and kama. Playing tennis, I feel it is a kama. Watching a football game, basically is entirely a kama. I have noted down because I may forget. So few things I have noted especially for you. Watching a football game, basically is a entirely kama pursuit. There is no artha here. But watching a baseball game, I think it is not even kama. That's my opinion. Because once in even 3 days, also a ball is not airborne. So this is just my person may be liking baseball, but compared to this, volleyball and football and basketball, baseball seems to be, for me, it's not even a pursuit of artha. Of course, it is not there, but it is definitely not even a kama. Anyway, so and in fact, the more than artha, the pursuit of kama is very big for the human being. pursuit of a gratification, satisfaction, pursuit of a pleasure is very, very big. It has, most of our human life goes in pursuit of kama. And it's a major pursuit, In fact, the whole cosmetic industry, is thriving on this. So you want to appear differently. And so you want people to ask you, what did you do? You look so pretty. And so, definitely. And you should not feel flattered, because ultimately the question means that you look better now. Without understanding that question, people really feel flattered. Anyway. So sometimes it looks, can be tricky. This pursuit of kama, etc., can look very tricky. But even, at the end, we can derive that it may be a kama pleasure. Especially Pujya Swamiji described that I wanted to share you. Perhaps you might have heard also, plucking the eyebrows. Plucking the eyebrows is not, of course, a pursuit of artha, naturally. But it is not even a pursuit of kama also. Not a pleasure. When you are especially getting plucked all your eyebrows, definitely not. But after everything is over, and when someone says you look, very, very beautiful, etc., then at the end, you may feel a little pleasure. That's how even plucking the eyebrows, etc., we can call it as a pursuit of a kama. Anyway, ultimate end, that's a pleasure. So, and of course, this $1 billion, our entertainment industry, all Netflix and whatever, ultimately it's purely a kama industry, purely. As well as holiday travel industry, very big. Is also kama. That's how I was saying kama is a major pursuit compared to even artha also. So it's a very significant pursuit of a human life. And pursuit of artha and kama is common to all human beings. And if it is also the basis of basically culture hoppings. When people of one culture explore the another culture. And they jump culture, they jump even oceans, they jump the nations, countries, they even jump the planets, they explore outer space. All artha kama exploration basically gives a person who explores some satisfaction, gratification, ego gratification, that is also ultimately kama. Therefore, kama, between artha and kama, we'll stop here. Out of these three purushartha, artha and kama basically are two pursuits which I talked to you. In that, kama is a major pursuit. Then, of course, third purushartha is dharma, which I will, because it's a little lengthy topic, so I'll talk to you tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.